I came back to Seabbrook, my small coastal hometown, for a quiet weekend. After weeks of deadlines and classes at the university, I was expecting nothing more than cold leftovers in the fridge and a silent house. My father was out of town on one of his frequent business trips. That meant it was just me and Marissa, my stepmother. Marissa had married my dad when I was 16. She was only 10 years older than me, and even then, I remembered the way people used to whisper about how young and beautiful she was. But she'd never been much of a mother figure to me. She'd been different. Fun. The kind of person who could strike up a conversation with anyone. Still, I'd never thought about her like that. Not seriously. Not until that weekend. When I walked in the door, Marissa greeted me with a warm hug that lingered just a fraction of a second too long. I told myself I was imagining it, chalked it up to her being affectionate. She'd always been casual like that, more like a close older cousin than a parent. "Stay for dinner," as she said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It'll be nice to have some company around here." I didn't argue. While she cooked, we talked the way we always did, lightly, laughing about college stories and dumb jokes. But this time, I noticed what she was wearing, just a loose tank top and soft leggings, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She hadn't put on makeup, and there was something almost effortless about her. When she handed me a soda and poured herself a glass of wine, I realized I'd been smiling more in that hour than I had in weeks. After dinner, we carried the dishes to the sink and drifted into the living room. She settled on the couch with a blanket tucked over her legs, and I sat at the far end, careful to keep space between us. The movie flickered in the dim light, and I kept my eyes fixed on the screen, telling myself not to notice how the fabric of her tank top clung in the soft glow of the TV. Halfway through, we reached for the popcorn at the same time. Her fingers brushed mine, and instead of pulling away, her hand stayed there. She glanced at me with a small smile. "You're not a kid anymore, you know." I tried to laugh it off, made some dumb joke, but I felt the air in the room change. Suddenly, I couldn't stop noticing the way she leaned toward me when she laughed, how her gaze lingered a little longer than it should have. I told myself I was imagining it. But then her hand grazed my knee. Just a fleeting touch, casual on the surface, but it felt like a shockwave under my skin. I excused myself, splashed water on my face in the bathroom mirror, whispering under my breath, "You're overthinking this." When I came back, she didn't hear me at first. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone. I must have left it unlocked. She looked up, her lips curved into a teasing smirk. "Didn't take you for the type," she said. I froze. "What type?" "The type who keeps interesting photos." Heat flooded my face. "That's private," I managed. "Relax," she said, sipping her wine like nothing was out of the ordinary. "I'm not going to tell your dad." Honestly, I'm a little impressed. I didn't know how to respond. My chest was tight, my pulse drumming in my ears. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a softer register. "You've really filled out since you left for college. Sometimes I forget you're not just the kid who used to raid the fridge at midnight." Her shoulder brushed mine as she adjusted the blanket. "Do you ever wonder," as she hesitated, then met my gaze, "what it would be like to be with someone older? Someone who knows what they're doing?" My throat went dry. "Is that the wine talking?" "Maybe," she said, though her eyes didn't waver. "Or maybe I've just been thinking too much lately." She rested her hand on my chest, slow and deliberate. I didn't stop her. "You're not a kid anymore," she whispered. "And I'm not blind." Then she kissed me. It was soft at first, but the second kiss lasted longer. She moved closer, her hand gripping the back of my shirt, and I felt every warning in my head screaming stop. I didn't. We didn't go all the way, but we crossed a line that night. One that couldn't be erased. At one point, I pulled back and whispered, "Oh, what about Dad?" She didn't even blink. He doesn't need to know. The next morning, I woke up on the couch with the blanket half off and my heart still pounding. Marissa was already in the kitchen, humming softly as she made coffee like nothing had happened. "You want eggs or toast?" she asked when she saw me. I stared at her back, trying to convince myself I'd dreamed it. But the weight in my chest told me I hadn't. She slid a mug of coffee across the counter. "You're overthinking it," as she said finally, her voice light, almost dismissive. I wanted to ask what it meant, if it would happen again, if it was anything more than a mistake born of loneliness. But before I could, her phone rang. My dad's name lit up the screen. "Hey, baby," as she said into the phone, her voice soft and familiar. "Yeah, everything's great here. Quiet night. He's just waking up." She hung up and didn't look at me. When she finally spoke, it was almost an afterthought. "We don't talk about it. It happened. That's it." I nodded because I didn't know what else to do. She smiled like that was enough. But it wasn't. Not for me.